Psychometry is being able to read residual energy left on objects that people have owned. This can be keys or jewelry, watches, even photographs. My first real significant experience with psychometry was 20 years ago, so I'm dating myself here. I was in college studying journalism at Bloomsburg, and when I came home for the weekends, I used to stay with my grandmother. We called her Nana. So I'd stay at Nana's house, and my mom stopped by and she said, I know you're studying journalism, I know you want to be a writer, and I have your grandfather's World War II journal. I thought maybe you'd find this interesting. Maybe you could do something with it. And I said, sure, I'll read it. So I start to begin to read this, and it's not that bad. But the story ends with him leaving for Italy, and I knew that he had served overseas, so I knew there was more to this story. So my grandmother wasn't home at the time, so I just began to rip her apartment apart, going through closets, going through dressers. I wasn't finding anything, and I got to this last drawer, and I open it up, and there's a bunch of pinochle cards and yarn and more Nana stuff in there, and I get to the bottom, and I find these two small notebooks, pocket notebooks, and I open it up, and I start to read, and this picks up, when he arrives in Italy. So I begin to read, and I get to this one passage where he's talking about having to cross this big field. And this field was under enemy observation. So he's kind of anxious about doing this. So I'm reading this passage, and all of a sudden, I'm there. I'm running, and I know there's guys to my side, and I'm breathing heavy, and I can hear, rocks under my feet. I get to this one point, and I'm stopped running, and I'm just, breathing very heavy, and I'm very anxious and nervous. And, the next thing I know, I look down, and there's the notebook on the floor. I had dropped it. And, I kind of just took a moment, and I didn't know what to do. This just crazy experience. So I go outside to have a cigarette just to calm down, and, I just have this burst of emotion, because I start to consider, what if my grandfather didn't make it over that field? What if he was shot by the enemy? And I wouldn't be here right now. So I just became very overwhelmed, and it took a couple minutes for me to calm down, and that's when I figured, I want to read the rest of the story. And that's what inspired me to write my book about my grandfather. It's really his book. It's all his words. I just edited it down and, condensed things and, put things in order and shared some of his own personal stories and, letters that he wrote home. So you're welcome to read the book if you'd like. This is, My American Odyssey. You can find it on my website. You can find it on Amazon. It concentrates on his World War II service, but it really is, a story inspired by an experience with psychometry. Being able to read the energy from objects. And that's when people come to me for readings. I encourage them, if they're coming to connect with a specific spirit, to bring an object with them. It just helps my connection be stronger. At first I kind of let, see what information comes through, and then I'll move on to an object. I just like clients, anything that you can carry in, just small objects, please. I had one person, they walk into my door, and there's this really long thing wrapped in a garbage bag, and I'm like, geez, somebody just brought a gun into my house. But, we sat down during the reading, and, I was willing to do it. But he gets it out from the garbage bag as one of those old, 1970s ceramic leopards. I think, a lot of people, I see them when I go antiquing. But I did a really good job on this object. To be honest, I connected with 3 or 4 different spirits. Maybe because it was so long, I don't know. But it's definitely possible. I seem to be stronger with objects than photographs, but I am able to read photographs as well. And, when people give me something, an object to hold on to, I do my best not to look at it. I don't want it to influence my reading. If it's a photograph, I turn it over. But keys are keys. I'm going to feel that. But, sometimes certain objects, it's good that I don't see what it is. And then, I'm able to receive information about the person who owned it and, people around them as well as my client, too.